10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Good luck, studio.
And now, another really exciting episode of the Shy Life podcast.
Oh, it's the Shy Life podcast.
All I wanted was a pie, and then I hatched out of an egg.
Okay, bring the mic over. He's ready to record.
It's the quiet ones you've got to watch, you know.
Is it metaphorical? Is it deep? Is it deep?
Boy, he's not all that shy is right. Gee.
Blimey, Governor. It's the Shy Life podcast.
Excellent.
Bonjour et bienvenue au podcast The Shy Life.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Shy Life podcast with me, Paul the Shy Yeti. How are you doing? I'm all right. Yes. So what's this episode going to be about? Well, I'm quite excited about this one. I've been trying to encourage our guest this time onto the show ever since it began, really, whether he knew it or not. It was always something I was hoping I could achieve at some point. And we originally were going to do this about 2 years ago, before the pandemic, but life got in the way. But it's quite timely, as it happens, because it's actually, as this episode is released, almost 30 years, well, it's 30 years in September, 30 years in September since we met at university, probably on our first day. But yeah, so who are we talking to? We're talking to my friend Kerry, who, as I say, was a university friend and has been a friend ever since, and who also appeared in a lot of early Sutton Park episodes, sometimes on screen, sometimes behind the camera, sometimes via audio message, sometimes just a quick shot of him, because back then I had a list of the top, I don't know how many it was, 30 most appeared stars on the show, and any little appearance counted. So yeah, he put up with a lot. He's very, very kind. He doesn't say anything about how annoying I must have been. But, anyway, so let's run that theme music, and when we come back, we'll be talking to Kerry. But actually, I've got to have a quick word with the regulars first. But anyway, run that theme music.
Darling, it's the Shy Life podcast.
Yeah, but it's positive thinking. The highlights, the Shy Life.
You won't find a cast of characters like this everywhere.
Hello, Paul.
I'll go anywhere for a potato.
Delicious.
Hello, captors. How are you?
You quite like a big bang, don't you, Paul?
Go Shy Yeti.
Oh, I hope he hasn't found out my secret. If he has.
If you thought that was bad, just listen to this.
Oh, I can't wait for it to begin.
It's the Shy Life podcast.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm strangely drawn to Yeti Uncle John's ankles as well.
Has the Shy Life podcast slowed down? I don't think so.
It's all green and meaty and yum, 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 yum.
Has anyone seen my hot sausage? Hello.
So look, guys, now I'm going to be talking to Kerry today, and we're talking over the phone and we're recording either end, and so basically, please, no banging around in the kitchen or anything like that, not even for a little bit. I'm only going to be talking to him for about an hour. I understand, Paul. I remember Kerry. I guess Kerry and you were in the show sort of briefly around the same time in 95. I don't think you did any scenes with him. I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure I did. I think in those days we kept to ourselves. Yeah, maybe. I didn't have many people to film with up in Birmingham, so Perhaps I didn't want all of my stars in one place. Oh, Paul. You said like we were making it up as we went along. No, of course, this was real life, but anyway. Please, Yeti Uncle John, no banging. Oh, I wasn't going to go banging. I'm going to be over at the Magpie Hut. Oh, you don't want to listen in? No, I don't think I know your friend, Kerry. But I'll listen to the episode when it comes out, though. All right, then.
I'm going to be on the spaceship, Paul. I've got things to do. Yes. So, there's no need to worry.
All right, Ick. Good. Well, that's pretty much everybody, isn't it? I don't expect Bettina or August or Martin or Tallulah to be banging around. Dealey may bang around. Dealey may appear. But anyway, listeners, the regulars have confirmed that there'll be no banging around in the background this episode. So let's get listening to our conversation with Kerry about our days of making Sutton Park and a little bit of a chat about going to gigs and things as well, which we started to do around 95. All right, let's head back to the early 1990s. Birmingham, 1992. Get on with it, Paul. Stop dragging it out. Yeah, Uncle John, don't be mean. I don't know. Well, listeners, today we've got a very exciting guest. It's somebody I've known for a very long time, in fact, almost 30 years. Would you like to introduce yourself, guest?
Hello, my name is Kerry Lang. I got to know Paul at university, which seems a very long time ago.
And listeners, you may have heard Kerry's voice, but you probably definitely have heard Kerry's voice, but from 30 years ago or near enough.
Yeah, a lot younger.
Yeah, on Sutton Park clips, because it's one of the things we're going to discuss is what it was like being made to be a film star, if you can put it like that, or Sutton Park star. I don't know, where should we start? So we were both on the same course, weren't we?
Yes, and then I noticed you had a video camera.
Yes, and also
it seemed to go everywhere with you.
Yeah, and also I think you noticed I had a Doctor Who T-shirt.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it was because it was around. No, it wasn't the 30th anniversary at the time. It was, but there did seem to be a lot of T-shirts available around the early 90s, even though the show wasn't being made. I definitely had one that said da-da-dee-dum, da-da-dee-dum, and it was just spelled out across the T-shirt. And
I think it was a Too Much T-shirt. I think you've been to Too Much, and I think it was that. Yeah,
so I turned up at university.
Fashion faux pas.
Yeah, but too much. I was never bothered about that sort of thing. So. But it's a good. Thinking about it, it was a very good way of saying any other Doctor Who fans out there.
Yeah,
and
it worked.
It worked, and the thing about our course was that it was kind of, I guess, it was mostly mature students. And all sort of maybe ladies going back to education after having kids and things, and there was only, I don't know, it was about a third of us that were straight out of sixth form. It certainly didn't. It was quite a mixed sort of age group on the course, which was kind of good, but I think we did group together a bit, because I suppose, like, you were living away from home and I was living away from home, even though you lived relatively close to your parents and could go back at weekends. A lot of people on the course lived in Birmingham and then back to their families, so they weren't necessarily looking for things to do after university. So perhaps it wasn't the most sociable course from that point of view.
Cliques is a word that springs to mind from back then. We were all in cliques, I think.
Yeah. Did you even go to the Freshers' Day or whatever it was? to see.
I had a wander round and looked at some of the Union Society stuff. Over in the that's triggered off some memories. I did look at the sci-fi group and considered joining them, and never got round to it because we became mates. Yeah. It didn't matter.
Yeah, I didn't. I think I went to it, but I don't think. No, I definitely didn't join anything. But that would have meant being sociable and things like that. Which, I don't mind being sociable when I've obviously bonded. It's when you're in groups and you're not. You think, I don't like half these people. Why am I here? I suppose I already had my sci-fi friends back home as well. Yeah. Not that there wasn't room for more, but because you weren't in halls of residence, were you? And neither was I.
I never wanted to do that. I think I can remember talking to you about that at the time, that neither of us fancied the idea of halls at all. We just wanted to be out there in the wilds.
Yeah. Now, for the first term we were there, we were sort of friends who met at college, or at university, whatever, and for lectures and things. But I was also going to see friends I had in Tamworth at weekends, and that sort of ended in beginning of '93. And you are on some very early episodes of Sutton Park where you probably didn't necessarily know you were being recorded, because I was filming out the window.
Wasn't I? Reflection. That was my first appearance of Reflection.
Like episode 6 or something. Yeah. So that would have been in '92. But it was more because I had trouble with my video camera at the start of '93, and I wasn't even working for the second term. Because before I started doing Sutton Park, I'd done sketches and I'd done a few other bits and pieces. I wouldn't have said I'd used my camera that much, but I guess I had, compared to like what people usually use cameras for, and they just use them on holiday or whatever, or Christmases or birthdays. Because I remember them saying, "Are you sure this camera's only?" I think I had it in '91, so it sort of broke down after about 2 years. And the man was like, "It's really being used a lot." I'm like, yeah. But I think it was sort of around Easter '93, which is also just around the time that I had to leave the accommodation I was in, just because of family problems with the family I was living with. I didn't do anything wrong, but I did have to leave. And then that was when we ended up living together in the place that you'd been living down the road in Erdington.
Yeah. That was a nice place, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was on the top floor, and I remember that also being one of the first places that I saw several horror films, because we lived quite close to a Blockbusters, and being the sort of hoardery types that we were, you wouldn't. I'd go to Blockbusters to buy their cheap videos, not necessarily to rent things. And that was around the time that things like Evil Dead and Friday the 13th and all those sorts of films were available for a $5. I remember, because you were always very kind, that if you were away at a weekend, because I think in both places we lived, you had the bigger room, which was fine. I think it was safer for me to have the smaller room. I managed to keep my rooms tidier because they were smaller. You can't get that untidy sort of thing. So, but if you were away, you always let me use your video player, or because I don't think I had one set up. But I remember there being a weekend, and I got some of these horror films, and the way I used to watch horror films was that I'd whiz through them first to make sure I knew when all the scary bits were, particularly because we weren't watching them together and I was by myself, so I didn't want to be scared, so I made sure I knew when I was going to be scared. So but that's what I sort of associate with that. But I remember some of the early things we recorded involved time travel and rabbits, there was a character called Harvey who was a time-travelling rabbit.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. But also at the same time, hello, Dealey's here. Are you just going to sit down? Are you? Yeah.
Hello, Dealey.
Deals with recording, it's fine. Just yes. Just settle. So take a moment to settle. I'll ask you some questions in a minute. Yes. It should be said that although we got on with other people on the course, our main little group was you, me and Phil.
Yeah.
Who was also on.
He was the initial bridge. We got to know each other first, and then we were put into separate groups, weren't we? And then you got to know Phil, and I got to know Phil separately. And then I think there was a realisation moment. Then we realised, actually, you know Paul, you know Kerry.
Yeah.
So the three of us ended up coming together.
I did have to do a little bit of stalking, because it's all very well being at university and when you're in lectures together, but there's those days when you've got nothing to do. And we didn't have mobile phones, so you couldn't just kind of text and say, are you doing anything? Do you want to go out for a drink, or do you want to go to the cinema? So I just, because I lived in Sutton Coldfield and it was only a quick bus ride to Erdington, so I sort of went down to Erdington and kind of hung around the shops and hoped I'd bump into you. And I think I walked past your house once, and you were looking out the window and were like, where are you walking? Oh, hello. This was before we moved in together, obviously. So there was a bit of a sort of that bridge between being in college, being in classes, and actually being friends outside, which is that difficult sort of thing when you meet new people. But yeah, I around the time I got my new video camera back, Easter '93, I managed to lure Phil, who wasn't really the sort of person who would probably have done acting normally. He was quite, relatively normal.
He was very gung-ho and threw himself into it.
He did once I got him, I took him to Sutton Park and I said, could you wiggle some plastic dinosaurs in front of the camera?
As you do.
Oh, and then I was like, do you mind if you could just be some legs, like walking past? And then by the end of the episode, he was fully in camera and being a zombie being pushed off a small quarry thing. After that, so he got killed off in his first episode. But then when you started being in it around the same time, kind of need to have Phil back, so he got to be a zombie who we were reintegrating into society.
Yes.
And
swans and everything.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I think we recorded in various different parks around Erdington.
Yes, well, last time on Sutton Park, this happened. Yes, well, now the story continues for episode 67. Thank you. This is awful. This is terrible. There's only one thing we can do, that's to stop Phil creating all this terribleness. Come on, we've got to stop him. Oh, this is awful. I think, Phil was supposed to be around here somewhere with Kerry, but I don't know where he is. This is awful. He must be around here somewhere. I'm gonna have to have a further look, I think. I don't know where they are. It's a bit of a problem. I haven't the foggiest where they might be. If don't stop Phil soon, then you could cause that accident. We've got to try and avert that. Where are you? Oh, well, I've looked everywhere and I can't see him. I can't see him anywhere. Oh my goodness, what are you doing here? Hey, get out of it. Come on, get it. That's oh dear, I think I've killed him. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to kill you. I didn't mean to shock you like that. I really didn't. Are you okay? Oh dear. I better go and find Phil. Sorry. Oh, hello, Mr. Claw. Have you seen Phil? Excuse me. Oh. Sorry. Sorry. I seem to be having a very strange effect on creatures off Sutton Park today. Every time I get near them, they seem to be dying, which is a good thing in some ways, but rather mysterious in another. Anyway, I'm going to look for Phil again. Bye, Phil. See ya. I don't know where they are at all, but oh my goodness, Kerry, it's you. Hello.
I'm good, Paul.
How
Hello.
are you? I'm all right.
I've just managed to stop Phil from beating you up. You realise?
Why was he wanting you to do that then?
Because he hates your guts and he wants you dead.
I suppose that's what happens to you once you become undead. You just get like that.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Well, where is he then? We got to stop him.
He's up there somewhere.
We'll better find him. You take the camera and Is that working? Is that working okay, Kerry?
Yes, it's fine.
Good. Yes, that's fine. Where did you say he was? Up here somewhere?
It's just up here by that little bit.
Well, there's nobody by the little bin, Kerry.
Well, he was there. I knocked him out.
Well, he seems to have gone now. We've got to stop him from getting to Orchard Road. Look at this tape. I showed you this earlier.
Earlier?
I don't know if I did or not. Look. Look. Zombie Rampage Terror Shocker.
Oh no.
I got to stop Phil from getting to Orchard Road and making this poor bloke have a heart attack.
What can we do? He's gone.
Well, we have to get there before we have to avert it. We have to stop it.
Alright then. That way then.
Yes. That's still going, then, yeah?
Yeah.
I sense something down here. I don't know what it is. It's just a sort of undead feeling about this place. It's, it must be down here somewhere.
Okay, let's go.
We'll have a look, yeah. Phil? Don't know where he is. I'll definitely be round here though. I can sense it.
There's something in the air.
There's something in the air. Yes, well, that's nothing to do with Phil. Well, I hope it's not anyway. Meanwhile, the man who is going to have the heart attack very soon, once meeting Phil, is getting rather near Orchard Road. You're doing an excellent job. An excellent job there.
You're too kind.
That's all right. I can sense Phil has been here. He is somewhere around here. But we're getting so close to Orchard Road, I really don't know what to do.
It could be anywhere.
It could be anywhere. And that bloke, the one who we're trying to stop from meeting Phil, he must be around here somewhere.
He's in grave danger.
He's in very grave danger. He'll be in his grave as well if he's not careful. Oh dear. It's hopeless. Well, yes, the man is close. He is very close. Dangerously close. I don't know where. Oh, excuse me. Have you seen Phil? I'm having this strange effect on the skeletons at the moment, Kerry. They seem to be dying on me. Let's go and see if we can find him.
Okay.
Kerry, you stop the man. I'll stop Phil. Okay. You stand that way. Stop.
Okay.
Go on. Phil, stop. Phil.
Yes.
Phil, you mustn't walk along this road like that. You'll scare people. If you go this way, go that way. It'll be nice for you. So if you go this way, I'll take you back to the graveyard.
That way.
That way. Yes. Oh dear. So that's a very near thing.
Yes.
Oh, there you are.
Yes, I've been waiting.
You got that man away then?
Yes, he was very displeased.
Well, I hope you worked with him anyway. Right. We got to. Phil, this is your home.
Home.
Yeah. So I'm going.
Nice place.
Yes, it's lovely. I'll hand the camera over to Kerry now, and then I'll show you where you should be. So.
Okay.
Look, we've really got to do something about these arms here. You see, if you're going to be into something, put your arms down, like that. No. You've got to do something about these arms. You can't have you sticking up.
Why?
Because you're supposed to be. I know you are dead, but We've got to try and
comfortable.
I know, we've got to try and integrate you into society, though. It's no good if you're sort of like that. People don't just walk around like that, you know. You won't get a job in Woolworths. No, you can't walk like that. Oh, you're going to have a vest. You have a vest up here, and then we'll come back again. Alright, so you've got all your facilities around here. So, this way, I think.
Okay, got us fine.
Well, I think he's alright.
He looks pleasant enough anyway.
Well, we seem to have sorted him out.
Yes.
But we're gonna have to work out how we're gonna get him, you know, integrated. So if we go up this way somewhere.
Okay.
Back to. That was Sutton Park episode 67. Expect more of the same very soon. Thank you.
Our first year ended relatively early because our first year exams were probably in May or something. So we may not have lived together for that for more than 6 weeks, 2 months before the end of the end of the first year came around. But I don't think either of us went rushing back home. But
I can remember doing some policeman stuff to begin with at Orchard Road.
Yeah.
I think that's the first kind of thing, and obviously that was a character who returned later on, but I think that's what I did first. I can remember doing some stuff on the stairs for that. Were you directing stuff, or at least being a cameraman, or yes,
as early as that? I couldn't.
Yes, because that was the thing. I think in an alternate reality to this, I ended up being a television director, which is what I wanted to do, rather than a librarian. That was just the path this particular reality has put me on.
Yeah.
But that's what I was doing first, and I wasn't really on camera, which was why I think you never saw the policeman character at all on camera. It was just a voice, and all of his material was point of view stuff. But then lots of your stuff was point of view material, and then to camera.
Yeah, it was quite nice to have somebody who would. Because somebody once said to me, I invented the selfie. Well, I don't think I invented the selfie, but I definitely needed to find a way to have my face on camera when I was by myself. So I did turn the camera on myself, and that's why it was supposed to be a sort of documentary type thing, although it never totally stuck to that anyway. But
yeah, lots of it was point of view stuff to begin with, and I wanted to scratch that directing itch and try and do those different things that you could do within the limitations of those handheld home video cameras at the time.
And then I don't know whether you came to, because you and Phil used to come and stay at my parents'.
I think I did come down that summer.
Yeah,
I think I did.
Yeah, it's possible. It was because that was the summer that I got to episode 100, and I also did my long Offa's Dyke Path walk with my friend Andrew, and went to Jersey and did episodes where I got hypnotised to kill Graham, which was me nicking a plot line from Prisoner Subcrate, of course. It's one of those summers where I can't believe how much I did, but I'm sure we did meet. But I guess we must have, because we were told that we couldn't go back to Orchard Road for the second year, and
then we quickly had to find somewhere, didn't we?
For the second year.
And we got Brookvale Village, wasn't it?
Yeah, I remember we went to at least one other place, because there was one where there was a room, a bedroom that sort of opened up for some stairs. It didn't really have.
Yes.
And I kind of liked the idea of it, but we decided to. I mean, listeners, Brookvale Village was really good because it had a lake opposite, and it was very close to Betty Junction, but the trees blocked that out, and it did give it a nice sort of more peaceful, like you weren't
It was a very nice place, Brookvale Village was, and it was very tranquil by the lake, and it was on the bush route, wasn't it? The Ring Road bush route, which was brilliant.
Oh, that was really good because if you had
getting into town and going to uni.
Yeah, and also there was the bus route for uni, but then there was that circuit. Was that the same thing?
Because it went round. It was two separate bus routes, but same bus stop.
And you could, like, sometimes on a Wednesday, if we had the day off, you could just get on the bus and just sit and go round all of Birmingham, just look out the window.
Well, Mondays were great when we'd finished at uni, just going straight into town and looking at new releases, going to Virgin and HMV.
Yeah. Because we were never the sort of people who went to the student union bar much, other than maybe at Christmas or whatever. There was some sort of university thing. We did that sort of thing back at where we lived, because ultimately we wanted to spend our money on, even though I guess the student union bar would be reduced prices, we wanted, as you say, on a Monday to see what new singles were out, and we were always wanting to buy, I think he said DVDs, videos, and that was around the time that Next Generation was. Those DVDs were coming. Those videos were coming out,
and it's when I first got Star Cops, and Star Cops had come out, and I got all of those episodes and Professionals. I started getting Professionals at that point.
Going back to that circular bus route, I often found sometimes when I was going off to film by myself, it was a good place, because when you were it was a bit like doing a location hunt. You could sit on the bus and go, "Oh, that looks quite interesting. Next time I'll get off at that point," or because you went past. It really went through all sorts of different types of areas of Birmingham, quite well-off areas.
Because it went through Edgbaston, didn't it? And you could go all the way around.
Yeah, and the canal paths were always quite interesting. Or if we had to go and do I sometimes had to do coursework at the actual Birmingham University, and then you could walk along. You could, rather than hit a train home, you could walk along back into the centre, and that was quite an interesting stretch of canal path because it went through a few tunnels, and that was always we didn't always have to go to Sutton Park. We could go, or we could film opposite the house at the lake. The weird thing, I suppose the problematic thing about our second year was that we, for any potential landlord, was that we were only doing 2 terms. We weren't doing a full year, so anyone taking us on would find that they lost turn their tenants before the 3rd term. So we were lucky that our landlord didn't mind.
Yeah, he was just renting his entire house out, wasn't it, in terms of different rooms, and had different people in different rooms, and there was we were kind of mainstays during that period, and he had that other lad that was in the bedroom next to mine, wasn't he, who we had nothing to do with, that older lad in his final year, but there was a big overlap of people that he would rent out to, both students and commercial people.
And of course, if the room came free for the odd few weeks, I'd be like, there's an extra location I'll do some season this extra.
Just sneak in here.
Just to do, and also you could. There was a basement, a spooky kind of basement, which I'd sometimes go down and film in.
Yes, and it had a sign up on the top, didn't it? As you went down, it was called the Snake Pit.
I think
for some reason.
And I think there was a spooky cellar in the Orchard Road place as well. I don't know if I went down there.
Yes, I'd forgotten all about that.
But there was a cat, of course, at...
the cat! I'd forgotten all about the cat and its special meow.
What was the special meow? I should know better.
Well, it sounded so much like a baby crying.
because
it was very disturbing in the middle of the night.
It was quite sort of infirm towards I don't think it passed on whilst I was living there, because I did come back and live there for 6 months after we finished university, but I can't remember whether I think it was still around, but I feel like it was getting a bit shaky towards the end. Well, I got a lot of it on video, so I should know more about it.
It lives on.
I'm not sure whether I refer to it by its real name or whether I refer to it by some fictional name. But during our second, during the 2 terms we first lived in Brookvale Village, one of the things I particularly think about was that on my 20th birthday, because even though my video camera had been repaired, I then had another problem where it was I think the batteries were running out, but I think it was a lot more, rather than just going and buying a new battery, that was something I sort of had to wait for my birthday or something. So for a while I could only film if I was attached to the mains. I think we turned it into a whole plot line. So I remember I'd been trapped in the house for a while, and you filmed me from the window, and I tried to leave the house and found that I couldn't, but you filmed me sort of going down the front path and then being unable to breathe and having to come back in again. So we turned anything like that into a plot line. But on my 20th birthday, I can't remember if these were 2 separate things, but we did a jelly monster invasion.
Yes.
And we also did a thing where I was possessed by a witch or something. And had to overact.
I can't remember if that was the same.
I can't remember if that was the same night, or whether that was like the end of term, or whether that was Halloween or something. But
Phil was back by then, hadn't we? We got Phil back.
Yes, we got Phil back because something had happened to him. But yeah, I definitely, because my 21st birthday was when I was on placement, and it was a real damp squib because I sort of just went to work, which I've never done ever since. That was kind of like my lesson, never to work on your birthday. And so I tend to remember my 20th more fondly than my 21st. I think it was perhaps the second term, the sort of beginning of '94, was possibly when we were doing the Turlough stuff.
Oh yeah.
For listeners who don't know Doctor Who that well, Turlough was a companion of the Doctor's in the early '80s, and he was betraying the Doctor and was contacting the evil Black Guardian via a crystal which he held in his hand. Well, Kerry was in the series, not real life. He was he was under the forces of the evil Azrael, who was he was a plastic spider, basically. So Kerry was communicating with the plastic spider but not a crystal, but via an orange pencil sharpener.
Yes, it was a large plastic clear pencil sharpener. It looked like it could have been an orange crystal, turned upside down. Yeah,
I mean, a lot of my props came from. And then when Halloween came around, it was like, let's see what props I can get. And I was always on the lookout. And there was some good. A little bit later on, though, in Perry Bar, where we used to do our shopping at the Asda, there was quite a lot of really cheap pound shops and all that sort of thing. And it was there that I got a lot of the puppets that became really, really big in the sort of 95 onwards. So I was always on the lookout for cheap and cheerful. Of course, listeners, what should be said is that I was filming with Kerry. He didn't have to put up with it on a daily basis. well, almost, but no. But I was then perhaps going off at weekends and recording with friends back in Salisbury, or my friend Robin in Oxford, and all these plot lines would be. It wouldn't just be Kerry episodes all in a row. It would be a few episodes with you, and then I'd go off somewhere else, and then so you never quite knew. We didn't plan that far ahead. It was kind of.
What's the next bit?
Yeah, what's the next bit?
Well, it's like your video diary, isn't it? But in narrative form.
Then I'm trying to think what we were doing, because we never lived with Phil, so.
No, that probably was the right course of action in the end. But even though we considered it, and it was just that final 6 months, wasn't it? Because we were on placement from April to December, and then we came back in January.
Yeah, he had dropped off the course by then. So had we, we'll come back to placement in a minute. But we were very lucky that. Well, I was very lucky that I had to do retakes during placement. And I was able to come back and stay at I've forgotten the name of the road again. What's the road? What's the
George?
Yeah,
George Road and Brookvale Village.
Yeah, I was able to come back and stay and do my retakes and stay at George Road, and then when we wanted to come back at the start of '95 after our placement, he was available again for the last two, and we had the same rooms that we'd had before. It was very lucky. We didn't really have to sort of.
He was a good landlord, wasn't he?
Yeah. And I because my room looked out the other side. You had the nice look down at the lake, and I had a nice sort of look out where the allotments were. So if it got snowy or something, it was a nice view out that way. And because again, my room was the floor above yours, so I had that sort of being quite high up, really. But yeah, going back to placement, we saw each other. I think we saw each other every month, but
did we? Was that the year we met in Cheltenham?
Yeah. Yeah,
and we used to travel down on Saturdays and we met in Cheltenham.
Yeah, we do that, but then there'd also be other times when you and Phil, or just you. I think usually it was all three of us because Phil was working in Bournemouth. So
by that point, yeah.
Or I think, well, no, he was more in Dorset at that time. He did get to Bournemouth later on, but he was anyway because he got a placement even though he didn't stay on the course. So he was sort of my neck of the woods to a certain extent, or my because when I did my placement, I did it back in Salisbury, so I was living with my parents, and you did your placement, and you were living at your parents.
Yeah, I'm working for the MOD posse.
Yeah, can you remember? Were you pleased that you were having? Because I remember being a bit sort of in two minds. That I always knew it was going to be a bit of a funny course, and that you just get used to it, and then we'd be off to placement. But I wasn't sure that I was that keen about. I kind of felt that I ought to be staying somewhere, a new experience that wasn't just living with my parents for 9 months.
Well, the irony was, you see, one of the main librarian courses in the country was down the road from me at Loughborough University. And I didn't want to go there, partly because, apologies to any Loughboroughrites who's listening, I didn't particularly like Loughborough as a place, and I didn't want to go and study there, but it was just too close.
Yeah.
And Birmingham was the only other place, other course that actually was a sandwich. There was no formal library sandwiches, and I wanted a course. It's a practical course. It made sense to do a sandwich. And that was one of the reasons that I went specifically to Birmingham. So I didn't mind coming back at that point because it was only 6 months, and I could. I liked Nottingham, where I did my placement. I liked it a lot as a city, and it was great going to work there. Although the Pattern Room where I studied had its own eccentricities. But yeah, I can understand for you because you moved away. I'd moved away enough and going back, but I can understand for you going back and stopping with your parents for that. What was it, 9 months, 10 months?
Yeah, but realistically, wouldn't have had half as much freedom to. I wouldn't have saved that much money. I probably wouldn't have saved any money. It would have been like, and I would have been by myself. So, in a way, it couldn't have worked out better, really, because I spent a lot of time with Nick, and then when people like Harry and Robin came back from university, they'd be there in the holidays, and you guys would come and stay at my parents', and there was the pub down at the end of the road at the village. So. Even though it's sort of a bit of an isolated village, that pub doesn't exist anymore. So, but
that's a shame. I've got some fond memories of that.
Yeah, we used to play pool a lot.
Yeah,
it was a nice pub. It's just sitting there disused. It's just a shame. Anyway, but yeah, and also I think when I was on the placement, I could still go and visit Harry in Exeter or Robin in Oxford and have sort of a bit of student life, and then we met in either my place or we met in Cheltenham, which was sort of for me a trip to Bristol and then a trip up to Cheltenham. But it was quite a nice place to meet up, because when you get off at the station at Cheltenham, you have to sort of walk along that path, which is where presumably a disused railway line but turned into a footpath. But that made quite a good location for filming. I think at that point X-Files had kicked in and we were doing sort of like the sort of conspiracies involving Sutton Park, and you were having to be on hiding and things like that. And
was there some form of agent? I can't remember.
Yeah.
This is the thing about Sutton Park. Whilst it's kind of like a good kind of video diary for you, it reflects, you can see the influences. Yeah. It wears its influences on its sleeve, and our musical taste, your musical taste of the time, which is no bad thing, really.
Yeah, I was saying to somebody else recently, whereas some people, I don't know, if they're doing a spoof or something, they almost do their own version of it, whereas we tended to take ideas like the Turlough thing or an X-Files type thing, but we didn't want to be them. We wanted it to be part of our thing. So we like with that Prison Cyber H hypnotising thing, there were lots of little things that appealed to me, and I sort of put it in amongst stir into the mix. But it was definitely our show, not trying to be, a carbon copy of anything, because you just couldn't have done it anyway. We needed to be cheap and cheerful. So, yeah, so
and a lot of it was just spur of the moment stuff, or we can do that, or we had an idea and that, or like that night when there was the snowstorm, we went out and filmed and did that just because there was a snowstorm. There's just taking advantage of situations.
Oh, that's the thing I find most inspiring, not knowing quite what somebody else is going to say, and that could bring a whole new plot line.
Well, that was the thing, because I couldn't remember words at all. We did give me dialogue to say what? No. So it was all, we just worked out what we needed to do in the scene and then just improvised the dialogue, and that's all we did. Yeah. And that was quite freeing, though, wasn't it?
Yeah. And when we came back in '95 for those last two terms, that was the period I feel like you did the most directing. And I think there may have been episodes where you're barely in it, but you were directing the whole thing, and I was, or maybe you'd appear, you direct it until the point where we met up, because you were still on the run or still being an agent or whatever.
Was that the time Phil came up? Did we do the filming in Nottingham in that final?
We did do,
Nottingham Castle.
I was going to say, when you mentioned Nottingham, we did do some there's still lots that because I kind of randomly load things on YouTube or do audio clips, and there's still lots I haven't seen. So I need to pick some more stuff, some more of our stuff, because there's a lot of it I can't quite remember. So yeah, I can't quite remember when we did Nottingham, whether it was before.
I think it was after I'd done placement there, and I eulogised so much about Nottingham because of nostalgia and comics, and Select Disc, and other shops, and that Nottingham Castle, and Trip to the Jerusalem and all the stuff down the bottom. It was a good place to film.
Yeah. Hi. Oh.
Well, yeah, thanks for a nice day yesterday.
It was quite entertaining, wasn't it?
Well, it was a bit of a, I was expecting it, I suppose. I mean, what with the, I knew that the Jenny Monsters were coming at some time. I just didn't know when. But at least I wasn't trapped in the house. Like, it was good thing. At least I was more,
Great.
Good thing Phil got better.
Yeah, I was worried about him.
He was quite enjoying the film, though, wasn't he?
He was.
Just even, I was worried about him. I didn't get that thing stuck in him.
What's the bag for?
Oh, the bag. Oh, and I tell you, I thought, birthdays supposed to be relaxing, aren't they? But I didn't really get much relaxed. So I thought, take the chance, get away. I'm going to go away for a weekend. Don't tell me what. I'm going down to my aunt's in Reading. Okay?
Oh right.
I might pop down to see Robin in Oxford, but I don't know what the situation is with his, But I thought I'd go away for. Is that okay? Because
it's quite useful because I was planning on going down this weekend.
Oh good. I'm sorry. I was worried that you'd be disappointed or something. But
no, why would I be disappointed?
So I did think I need a bit of relaxation. It's.
Yeah, one of those things.
Anyway, I've got to go for the. I've got half an hour. I've got anything to eat? I'm starving. Yeah.
There's some stuff up there, look. Look at that.
I can't eat Jenny Monsters. I mean,
yes, you can.
I don't think they're going to come round, do you? I mean, they seem to be. They've been up there, since yesterday.
Well, they got jelly.
Well, okay. Well, I'll leave the jelly. I'll eat him. He's the nasty sod. I mean, I'll eat him.
You sure he might not?
No, I'll eat him. He's the boss. Yeah. No, he's the boss. I'll eat him. Ooh. You know what they said? Last time one of the Jelly Monsters lost its jelly, he went good, so I don't know if this will. Ooh. Oh, this is really nice, isn't it?
Is it alright?
No, see, I've dropped. Oh god. Oh my god. I've been reading the watch upside down.
What? Oh no.
Oh, blimey. I'm sorry, I have to leave it on. Sorry, I'll see you, Monday?
Monday.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, we clean up the mess, I'm dropping it.
Yes, don't worry.
Yes, see ya. Master?
Yes, I know he's gone. And I know I failed him. Give me another chance. Please.
Preserved memories of a past yet to be cast in a spiral of never-ending collapse. Yet memory serves no remembrance for life's loss. Again more, thrice more, I say it's December the 23rd of September. Oh.
I suppose before we talk a bit more about 95, I'm just trying to think. I was just thinking about sort of, although you have university, we weren't in the first year. I think we did all the same things, but then you started to pick different areas you wanted to focus on. And I was never very good with the sort of managerial type stuff or the sort of theoretical stuff. I did things like school libraries and things that allowed me to be a bit more creative. And I did a few videos, or at least one. I think I did a video for one bit of coursework I was doing, but I also was very nice. And another group said to me, "Could you do a video for us?" And so I went to a school with basically rivals, I suppose, from the course, and recorded there, and they were very nice. They gave me chocolates or something in the end, so that was like, okay, this is the result. So, and I remember doing a bit of coursework where I kind of probably roped the others. We did the children's fiction thing, and we did science fiction stuff, so things like Nicholas Fisk and Doctor Who books, and I did basically I just did the video for it because it was just easier to do it myself rather than get them involved. But I do remember dressing up as Horner the Amphibian Man, and this is like in the presentation, and then we sort of showed the video. But the rest of the group, I sort of tied them up in some sort of, like I was pulling them into the room dressed as the Amphibian Man from Sutton Park, and they agreed to do that anyway, even if they didn't do much towards the video.
Did we only the three of us do one actual piece of coursework together? And that was that designing that interface of that management system. And that was the only time the three of us, you being Phil, actually did a piece of coursework together. Probably.
It's probably one of those ones that I struggled with because it was a bit theoretical and sciencey.
Well, yeah, that was the thing. The creative stuff you were doing was I struggled with, and all the management stuff. That's why we worked so well together, because we complemented each other's skills and capabilities.
Because I also did I probably told this story before, so I'll tracy it. But I did a local studies project in the last 2 terms, and I was able to do it about Sutton Park and go to the library and find ephemeral things that had probably been forgotten about, festivals that happened there over the years. And I did that, and I was then able to go and take photos in the park and do some Sutton Park whilst I was there, so it was perfect. And I got an AOK sort of mark, but then the tutor showed me another project that another student had done about Sutton Park, and within 30 seconds I realised that all she had done was crib the Sutton Park guide that you could buy from the visitor centre, to the point where there were photos that had been cut out of it, and you could see the words on the back of the photos that had just then been written. And I didn't say anything to him, but I did say something to some of my fellow students on the course, and say, how can you compete when he thinks that's a good piece of work and it's quite clearly been done the night before? But anyway, I don't resent it, because I got to go off to Sutton Park and do recording. And I know that I didn't crib my report, but yeah. So I don't suppose that I think I might have even have released audio from this episode or put this episode on YouTube. But can you remember we just sort of decided that when we were finishing university that your character was going to get killed off?
Oh. And, I can't now. You're going to have to remind me.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know why I agreed. I suppose it made sense, because we wouldn't necessarily we won't be living together anymore. But
you could do anything in Sutton Park. We brought Phil back how many times? So...
I know, exactly. Yeah, you could have come back, and I think you did appear a few times in flashbacks after that anyway, because you and Phil certainly came to me in the summer of '95. And but it was all to do with the X-Files type thing, and we went to a park, a different, not Sutton Park. We went to a different park, and I'm not sure why we chose that one, or whether it's just one I'd seen on the bus and thought, oh, we've never filmed in that one. That looks quite interesting. You got shot with a plastic machine gun. I think it happened. I think we just filmed it. I mean, up until that point, we had been doing episodes, because there was the lake opposite the house, but there was also another lake just across from that. So there was quite a lot of sort of lakey type.
And yeah, there were at the top of the road on the ring road, over the road, there was another park, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And that's where we did the shots of Phil as a swan.
Yes, and that's also where we would sort of do secret sort of agent meetups and stuff. But your last episode, your last episode before you got shot, was in this other park, and I'm not sure. I'd never be able to work out quite where it was, but it was quite a good location. And I think we did it like, I don't know if my character was even there. I think perhaps I was the gunman and you were being shot, and it was sort of showing what had happened to you. You gone missing, and it was all quite dramatic.
Ironically, I can't remember any of this. This is really this is all good trying to remember, but I can't remember.
I'll have to find out whether
it's
one of the ones I've loaded up. But
and you'll have to put it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
And remind me.
Yeah. But we did lots of little props, I did quite a lot of props where we had like, around that time we had like a pass card. You gave me a photo of you, and or whether we went and took them specially, I don't know. I can't remember now. But we had, I think I still have them, these pass cards that were supposed to be, because we were allowed to be in Sutton Park, because, and I sort of singed them around the edge to make them look like they'd been used and stuff. I mean, I was never the best sort of. I did have friends who were great at making props, but yeah, some of these things I still have. But
they're only fleetingly on screen, though. That's part of the magic. It's creating atmosphere, and so anything like that just adds to the nature of what Sutton Park is.
I'm sure there'll be something else that will come to mind about Sutton Park before we go. But before we say any more, I wanted to also say the thing about 95 was that was when we started going to gigs together. But why didn't we go to gigs before that? And did you go to any gigs without me before? Or what made it? What made it? Why did we start going? I don't know. I can't remember now.
I went to that last Wonder Stuff gig in Derby, didn't I? That was the first gig that I went to, and it ruined my hearing. I couldn't hear anything for about a week, and I thought I wasn't going to get my hearing back at all. And then, was there anything else during that year, or was it then 95? And was it Supergrass? Was Supergrass the first gig? Supergrass Blue Tones at St Edwards was the first gig. Then the floodgates opened, and that 6 months leading up to Pulp's triumphant gig at the Q Club during the summer, which we bought tickets before, didn't we? Before the Glastonbury event catapulted them to superstardom.
I didn't even know if I'd be able to go because I didn't know where I'd be because it was more like the autumn, the actual gig, and it was I didn't know where I'd be by the time, but I bought the tickets anyway. Good to see Lush. Also at Edwards, it was when they were going through their. Because when we were at university, I remember we both bought some of their stuff when they were more shoegazy. But by the time we went to see them, they were doing more Britpop-y type stuff. They'd had a couple of hits with Single Girl and Lady Killers. And
that wasn't with me.
Oh, didn't I?
That wasn't with me. So that must have been during that 6 months you were there, because I've never been
maybe
to
that
see.
was with. Maybe that, because I did go to because when I went back to the house, there was a friend of mine called Darren who I sort of, he was in your room. And I didn't really speak to him because he split up with his girlfriend and was kind of a bit sad, and we kept saying we'd go for a drink and we didn't, and then we did just before he was about to leave, and then we kind of realised we got on quite well, so we used to meet up in 96, and for the few months I was still there in 96, And we did go, we saw Garbage at Wolverhampton, and I guess it must have been him I saw last week.
Must have been.
But
we saw, so who did we see?
We saw Menswear.
We saw Menswear, supported by Embassy, of all bands.
And that was the day after, at least it was the day after my finals.
Yes.
And was it yours as well?
Probably. We saw the Long Pigs with Richard Hawley on guitar supporting Powder. That's one of my favourite gigs of all time, because there was only about 3 of us in the audience. No, there was 5 of us, and one of them, so Long Pigs was supporting Powder, and there was a guy sitting on the pillar. It was at the Foundry, wasn't it? And there was a guy sitting on the floor in front of the pillar all the way through. And then the Long Pigs came out and stood with us to watch Powder. And then he just got up and was mad dancing all the way through the Powder gig. And Pearl was just so embarrassed and chuffed at the same time. It was really odd.
But Powder's a funny group because they were on that Britpop documentary that came out around that time with a lot more famous bands. They never had a top 40 hit, but because Pearl was married to one of Supergrass.
Yeah, Danny.
And I think history remembers them as being more comparable to other bands like Sleeper, and when in fact they were quite small fry, although I did like, I can still remember Aphrodisiac, that was a good song. But they were never quite as big as history remembers them, so they've done pretty well to be still remembered.
Wasn't the guitarist from Transvision Vamp?
No, maybe.
Yeah. And we did see Sleeper at the top of Digworth High Street, and what else did we see?
We saw
Elastica. Elastica was a good gig.
Yeah. I think it was quite short though, because they didn't have much more material other than the album. The album was only about 30 minutes. I can't remember if there was. I guess it's probably quite enough for 2 students doing their working towards their finals and trying to get their dissertations finished.
And then during that summer, I saw Ash and Echo Belly. Echo Belly was supported by Drugstore, although they weren't, because they were very, very late, and then they came on incredibly drunk, and the singer couldn't sing because she was hiccuping so much, and they had to go off halfway through the first song. So Echo Belly had no support for that particular night. But
Echo Belly, I always wanted to.
I'm not going to say they were good, because that's only going to just rub salt in the wound.
But I still think one of the weirdest gigs we went to was that pulp gig, because what was that venue?
At the Q Club. The mighty Q Club. It's down the bottom of Corporation Street near Aston Uni. The building's still there, but I don't know if it's an actual, not necessarily, but nightclub now.
But it felt like it was, I don't know, like some sort of law court or something, or had been, I don't know what it had been. It was
opposite that record shop, wasn't it?
Yes.
And Minty supported them.
Yes. Yeah.
Was Quick Space on the bill as well? Was the 3 of them? I can't
really remember. I can't remember them. I remember Minty because I had that. That's Nice, or whatever it's called.
Yes.
Because Minty had Lee Bowery in.
Yeah.
But he had died by then, so it was a later version of Minty.
Yeah.
But they were still very, very strange. But we were very close to the stage. Travis Scott was definitely my hero for the moment, so it was probably the nearest I've been to a screaming bang, because we were quite close.
It was the only gig I've had any kind of slight panic at in the mosh pit. Every other gig I've been to, been no problem, but that was the only time. When they did the opening of what was their big single? It was not from that album that year. Not Sorted Fruit, Common People. It was like a tsunami. You could feel the tension go off
the mosh pit and it kind of like there was a gap, and then you knew it was going to rush forward. And that was that's the only time I've had any form of kind of, oh crap, what's going to happen now? And because if you've seen me on Sutton Park on YouTube, I was a solid lump. So I just tried to stand rock solid so that the people, because we were very close to the front for that, wasn't it? We weren't at the right at the front, we were about 3 rows back, something like that. Yeah. And I didn't want to be ended up pushed right in front of those people right against the barrier.
I'm a solid lump now, but I wasn't quite so solid. Solid-ish, but I wasn't half as solid as I am now.
No, you weren't as solid as I was back then. We've swapped over now.
But you did get me. One of your beautiful directing moments was me doing a running scene along the lake, so that I can prove that I could run at one point. I was also thinking, going back to filming, that we did do you remember we did that thing which wasn't Sutton Park, but it was for one of my Nick and my films?
Yes. Was it Twilights of Reality or something?
Yeah. And our section was called Keepsake because it was to do with a box that was found in Sutton Park, and Phil made a brief cameo. I think we did this before we went on placement, and yeah, it was a weird film overall because Nick was really good and he did scripts for his too, and I just wanted to do it the way that I was doing in Sutton Park. And also, we having coursework and stuff that asked me what to do. I didn't do much writing during university that wasn't to do with university, because I was doing. That's why Sutton Park was so good, because it was ad lib and you just turned up. And so the 2 stories I did, one with you, was all ad lib, and that was by the lake and in your bedroom. I think we just did that one Wednesday afternoon off, or whichever day we had off. I think we just sort of, there wasn't much explanation as to what was going on.
Well, it was just an anthology film, wasn't it? And we just did our bit. Yeah.
It's just, I'm not sure the scripted and the ad lib stuff fits together as well. I think I should probably have written something, but then we wouldn't have wanted to have done. You wouldn't, as you say, you wouldn't really wanted to learn lines, and so yeah.
Was I actually in it, or did I just direct it?
Oh no, you were in it. Yeah, you were the person who either sold me the box or wanted the box.
It's amazing how some things are so clear in my memory, and other things are just what.
Well, I've seen these things a lot more recently, so it's easier for me. So it's quite understandable. Well, we're nearly running out of time, and I think one of the we'll definitely have to come back and talk about TV and music, sort of aside from the stuff that we went to see at the time. But before we finish, I was just thinking back to sort of on our quiet days when we weren't filming, but we perhaps, like we were saying about going to the shops on a Monday, or if we were sort of at home at the weekend. We did, when we went into central Birmingham, we did have sort of places that we always used to hang out with, including when we used to go and have a sort of a nice all day brunch or whatever it was. I can't even think of what that place was called. It was up near the library.
Yeah, up at near the council square. I can't remember what that was, but yeah, we kind of we lived in there, didn't we? Really?
Yeah.
top end of New Street.
Yeah, but then there were various record shops. It was quite a big and sci-fi shops. It was quite a big sort of circle we had to do.
Yeah, well, we had to work off a lot what we ingested in that shop, in that cafe. So yeah, because there was, let me just think, there was, apart from the 2 HMVs in the Virgin, the independent record shops. There was that one at the end of Corporation Street opposite Q Club that we went in occasionally. There was that one opposite Virgin, and had that downstairs as well as an upstairs.
There was one sort of near the library, in a sort of
arcade.
Sort of
that
arcade.
60s arcade. That was Highway 61, wasn't it, that one? That's where I bought the video of, I was so excited, the import copy of A Clockwork Orange.
Clockwork Orange, I was going to say that.
Silly fool that I was. And then there was that other record shop in that other arcade down near the ramp into New Street. That was the best one. That's where I got all the One Stuff singles from. Yeah. That was a great one. And then round to Andromeda Books. Andromeda Books is still quite legendary as a sci-fi shop. And then Forbidden Planet. Because when we first started, there was the flyover down near Forbidden Planet, and there was that shop underneath the flyover, and then during the first year they took the flyover out, so it was all flat, and then obviously that shop disappeared. But there was loads of great shops in Birmingham for that sort of thing.
It's quite funny, I suppose, because it was probably in the Virgin store that I was with you, and as you say, we'd be looking to see new releases. And of all the music I bought at that time, I bought the first solo album by Amy Mann, and of course she's gone on to be somebody I've bought every single sort of release of and seen live many times. But I still remember, it was kind of like a random purchase almost, or maybe I'd seen a good review in Enemy or Melody Maker at the time. It's a bit scary to think that's been like 30 years I've been listening to him.
Well, yeah, this is the thing. I can't believe it's 30 years. Because it's just literally like yesterday. It's not wanting to sound like an old fart, but it is just literally yesterday. But it's quite shocking that it's almost 30 years.
I think, sometimes when lots of time's gone past, people kind of say, "Oh, I don't know where the time's gone," or and even though I have quite a lot of things, I can say, "Well, I did 3,000 something episodes of Sutton Park. I did this. Wrote this book." I still don't really remember doing all those things. It's just there, and I don't remember the sort of. So I don't think it makes any difference whether you've done lots of things or not done. Time still goes quick. So if you've got things you can mark it by and say, that's all very well, but it's still kind of all sort of concertinas into being sort of happened really quickly. Yes, I'm not sure when this episode will be going out, whether I should wait till September or I should release it sooner. But yes. Well, thank goodness you were at the university.
And thank goodness you were there. And thank goodness Phil was there. Because it was all good, the three of us.
Yeah. Sadly, haven't seen Phil in a while, but we did have a bit of a sort of period in the very late 90s, early noughties, where we did all three do stuff and meet up again and even went on holiday and stuff. And although it was a mixed time for you with your health and things, at least we did have a sort of after university period as well. So. And the only unfortunate thing was that I wasn't. Even though I did lots of creative things in the noughties, I kind of it's sort of sad that I wasn't doing more. I was doing films with Nick, but I wasn't really doing my own stuff because I'd sort of done so much for so long, and I was doing different things. But now I don't have that many. I have a lot of the 90s, but I don't have so much of the noughties, which is one of my favourite decades for doing stuff and going to gigs and being sociable. But I don't, because digital photography was still a bit sort of, I do have, towards the end of the decade, I definitely have digital photos, but I bought some really naff digital cameras at the start of the decade where I don't know if those photos survived. But anyway, well, I shall keep looking for more interesting Kerry and Paul episodes of Sutton Park to share with the listeners.
And Phil.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, with this podcast, you could put up some illustrative stuff that you haven't already put up so far, some of the things we've been talking about.
Yeah. Yes, I should put some Sutton Park clips from this era in this episode. So, and maybe I've already done that. Anyway, okay, thanks very much, and we'll talk again soon about some of our other interests. And it's been really good to catch up with you.
And it's been really good to catch up with you too. Cool. Until next time.
Well, listeners, that's all we've got time for. I hope you enjoyed my chat with Kerry. He will be back. We've got lots more to talk about. We pretty much covered what we can remember of working on Sutton Park and living in the areas of Birmingham we did. But, I did manage to find a couple of clips to include in the episode. I know there's lots more, but you won't believe how much time I sat with the hard drive trying to find other episodes. Every episode I clicked didn't have Kerry on. But anyway, there are still lots more Kerry episodes to be revealed. Anyway, somewhere, listeners, I have lots and lots. Well, I think I know where they are. Some of them are here, but some of them are in Salisbury. I have detailed guides of what days each episode was recorded and where they were recorded and who was in them. So if I can find the ones that cover the time that Kerry was in the show between 92 and 95, I might be able to track the episodes down that way. More episodes with him in, or the episodes we filmed in Cheltenham, or episodes he directed. But I don't know. The episode where he gets killed off, that's pretty much visual, so that wouldn't really work on the podcast, but I can still let you know the link to watch it on YouTube. Anyway, you heard me talk to the regulars at the beginning of the episode, asking them to please be quiet whilst I recorded, and yet I swear I heard some banging in the background. I swear I heard some banging, but I don't know, I didn't see any of them about, so I don't know who was banging in the background. I would dare to say it was Toby, but he was busy working in the other room, so I don't know. I'm going to have a word with them after the theme tune. Anyway, let's not worry too much about that. I just want to say thank you to Kerry for being my guest this episode, and I look forward to speaking to him again soon. And I hope you enjoyed hearing some of our anecdotes. That's a voice that you've not heard on the show before, well, other than in Sutton Park clips, but a new voice for the show, effectively. Because, yes, we've had Kerry on the show. It's only taken over 6 years, but, I'm not very good at asking people sometimes. Or I'm worried they won't want to talk, and sometimes I'm right. But Kerry did want to talk, so we've had him on the show. And I'll calm down now. All right. You take care. Join us again soon. We've got plenty more episodes in the can. Okay, bye-bye for now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, 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 bye-bye. Well, Paul, I can assure you it wasn't me. Can you? I can, Paul. I would never bang around. I was down in the laboratory And I would have liked to have listened to you talking, but I realised that, I would only have heard your side of the conversation, and it was better to wait until you edited the show. Well, yeah. Well, thanks, Cromitty. I didn't see anybody else in the flat, that's the thing. Toby was in the bedroom doing work. Dealey was about. He doesn't bang around in the sink. Do you know where the others were? Well, I spoke to Eek. He was in the spaceship. I could hear the sound of the spaceship in the background. Well, I don't want to accuse him of anything. And, yeah, to be fair, if Eek's in the house, you tend to know it. What about Yeti Uncle John? Well, I did see the magpies, I will admit that I nipped out at one point, and I saw him across the common with the magpies. I even went over and spoke to him. So you saw Yeti Uncle John on the common whilst I was recording? Well, in that case, that makes no sense. I really don't understand it. Well, I saw him there, Paul. I suppose I better not accuse him of anything. Perhaps not. Maybe the window was open. Maybe it was making things rattle. I don't know, like cutlery or something. Well, who knows? I'll go and investigate. Okay, Paul. Oh, I can hear the theme music coming. I can hear the theme music coming too. All right. Thanks for the little chat. Probably best I didn't accuse the others directly, but I thought you'd understand. Please, Paul, I understand. Okay, dear, oh dear. I gotta go now! Bye! Gotta go, bye!
Goodbye, 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 goodbye.
It's been good, but yeah, definitely time to come home now.
This show is part of the Pride 48 network. Find more shows over at pride48.com.
Oh dear, what's going on now? Oh, it's the Shy Life Podcast.
Let's go.
I have a voice. I have a voice.
You have a voice.
You have a voice. We have a voice.
We have a voice.
Unique voices in podcasting.
UnivazPods.net.
I don't believe this. What, Paul? What's going on? I've just found a tape recorder in the kitchen. A tape recorder? Yes. Yes. A tape recorder. It's been running. Is it recording things? No, it's been playing things. What is on the tape? You won't believe it. It's a BBC sound effects tape. From decades ago. It says, the sound of cutlery and crashing. Kitchen noises. Volume 1. Oh my goodness. So somebody left that playing when you were recording? Well, yes. Yes. It appears so, yes. Well, Paul, that's just deliberately annoying. Yes. That's actually worse than crashing about in the kitchen by mistake or just because you're not thinking. Actually planting a tape recorder that's playing the sounds of crashing cutlery, volume 1 or whatever it's called. Well, surely there's only one person who could have done that. Well, Yeti Uncle John. Well, yes. Why would he do that? To get back at you for something? To get back at me for something, probably. What have I done recently that's annoyed him? I'm not sure, Paul. I'm not sure. I'm surprised he has a working tape recorder, to be honest. I don't anymore. Well, you know, he keeps a lot of strange things in the magpie hut. Paul, you won't get into an argument with him. You won't go over there and shout at him, will you? No, I won't. I don't want to accuse him of... Well, we know it must be him. It must have been him. Who else would have put a tape recorder playing that? Still, and, you know, I presume it must have been him. If he did it, why did he do it? What have I done to annoy him recently? And what else have I got in store? Well, Paul, this is piece of evidence number 1, I suppose. Yes, let's collect the evidence together. It upsets me. It upsets me, Cromitty. I don't blame you, Paul. It's just, I thought things were getting back, to being a bit more friendly between us all. After Shame Jail and all that. Well, Paul, you can never tell with your Uncle John. His motives are mysterious. His motives most certainly are mysterious. Anyway, I don't think the sound of the tape recorder playing really interrupted the episode too much. It's just the natural charm of the Shy Life podcast. I don't know. You are not respected in your own home, Paul. Well, I respect you. Thanks, Cromitty. Oh well, we better go. Yes. Okay, goodbye, listeners. Goodbye, listeners. I hope you enjoyed the show. Bye-bye.
Oh, kitty, kitty, Billy. Purr, kitty, kitty, kitty. Oh, I love Billy.
Nicely worked. We got that. What's the portable one? Don't tell me what. Now I can do a sideways shot. Done the back shot. Watch it. Done the forward shot. Now we do a sideways shot. I've got to be careful with that.
You are?
Well, you'll have to be up to that because I don't want to trip over, do I?
No. You could do a third though.
Where are we going to stop? We're going to stop.
Yeah, we'll stop that there. Yeah, that's right.
We could get a bit more in. Hoping there's a bit more time.
Which gravestone am I?
Don't know, we'll find out when we get there.
There's two one up there, isn't there? There's one with like a scroll up there.
Yeah, we'll cut to one of those. We won't film that.
Okay.
If I fall over, you won't be upset, will you, Paul?
It's totally fine. Oh my god, he's dying. I've got to. What?
Your zooms don't work anymore, Paul. Oh well, it's broken anyway, so.
You ain't even done something. Do you want to look and see what you've done?
Yeah. Because it won't zoom in around now. It moves, but it doesn't move. Because you've zoomed it as far as you can go.
Can't get the help.
Oh, I think that was a wonderful episode, don't you, Toppy? I sure do. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
574,
This is just the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
What are you doing now then? An establishing shot?